Take a look at what I managed to buy for just $1. This isn't your typical PC. In fact, it's closer to something people would normally throw away. The kind of machine you might find sitting in an e-waste pile or on a dusty shelf in a used electronics shop. Most people would probably walk right past it without a second thought. But today, I'm going to show you what this forgotten computer is actually capable of, and how far I can push it with just a small upgrade budget. The real challenge is simple. Can I transform this $1 piece of junk into a machine that can actually run modern games? Games that this PC probably never imagined it would be able to handle? Let's find out. At first glance, it looks like a regular office computer, and honestly, that's exactly what it is. This machine originally came out around 2007, which means, oh wow, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's almost 20 years old, and clearly time hasn't been very kind to it. Right away, I noticed that something important was missing: the power supply. It's completely gone. On top of that, the case itself is dented and scratched, like it just crawled out of a pile of electronic scrap. The system is actually a Dell Optiplex 755, one of those pre-built office PCs from Dell. When I opened it up, most of the internal components were still there, except for the missing power supply. And surprisingly, there isn't any storage drive installed either. No hard drive, no SSD, nothing. And besides that, the system is only equipped with a single RAM. That's probably the main reason why this computer was being sold so cheaply. The seller did mention that it hadn't been used for a long time, so I'm honestly hoping it still works. Let's find out. To test it, I'm going to connect an SSD and an external power supply. Luckily, the motherboard uses a standard 24-pin connector, not one of those annoying proprietary Dell connectors. That means I don't need to buy any special adapters. Alright, moment of truth, and yes, the system powers on immediately. That's actually a very good sign. The processor inside is an Intel Core 2 Duo E6550. At first glance, it doesn't look very impressive. The specs are pretty modest: 2 cores, 2 threads, running at 2.3 GHz. But what many people might not realize is that back in its time, this chip was actually considered a mid to high-end performer. It delivered a huge leap in performance compared to the old Intel Pentium 4 processors that came before it. The downside, however, is that it doesn't have any integrated graphics, so it has to rely on the graphics capabilities built into chipsets like the Intel G31 chipset or Intel G41 chipset on the motherboard. And it's honestly crazy to think that after nearly 20 years, Intel now produces processors that are over 50 times more powerful than this one. But if you think that's the worst part of this computer, there's something even more painful. The system only has 2 GB of DDR2 RAM. These days, we're used to measuring memory in gigabytes, not megabytes, but even then, 2 GB is extremely limited. And the speed isn't helping either. The RAM runs at just 800 MHz, which by modern standards feels unbelievably slow. The situation gets even worse. Since there's no dedicated graphics card, the system has to rely entirely on the integrated graphics from the chipset, and because of that, I basically can't run any modern games at all. So let's see just how bad it really is by testing a few things. Unfortunately, even a game that's known for running on extremely old hardware like Minecraft won't even launch. At that point, I lowered my expectations and tried something simpler when watching videos on YouTube. At 240p, it actually performs okay. But the moment I increase the resolution to 480p, everything completely falls apart. The CPU instantly hits 100% usage, and the system struggles so badly that it can't even render a single smooth frame. Honestly, the only place this machine can even hold 60 frames per second is probably the desktop. After testing the system in its original state, I don't really blame this hardware for being slow. The real issue is that modern software has become extremely demanding, and the expectations we have for computers today are much higher. So instead of complaining about it, I'm going to upgrade a few components and see just how far this old machine can go. Let's start with the CPU. I'm replacing the original processor with an Intel Core 2 Duo 8400. It still has 2 cores and 2 threads, just like the previous chip, but the clock speed can reach 3 GHz. That might not sound like much today, but nearly 20 years ago, this processor was considered an absolute powerhouse. For many tech enthusiasts at the time, owning one of these felt like reaching the gates of heaven. According to benchmark comparisons, it's roughly 2.8 times faster than the old CPU in this system. Next up is the RAM. With only 2 GB installed, the system can barely handle basic tasks. Opening just one tab in Google Chrome already pushes the memory usage to around 80%, and trying to play games with that amount of RAM is honestly a nightmare. Luckily, I found 2 additional 1 GB sticks of the same DDR2 memory in my studio. These modules are so old that they've almost disappeared from circulation, and if you try to buy them on sites like eBay, the prices are often ridiculously high compared to the performance they offer. So instead of buying more, I'll simply upgrade the system to 4 GB of RAM, which should already make a big difference. Now we get to the component that matters the most for gaming performance: the GPU. Thankfully, this motherboard still includes a PCIe by 16 slot, which means I can install almost any graphics card I want. To pair with the E8400, I'm going with a modest but capable GPU, the NVIDIA GeForce GT 1030 with 2 GB of VRAM. This card should allow the CPU to reach its full potential without creating a serious bottleneck. Unfortunately, the case is missing the rear expansion slot bracket, so there's no proper screw to secure the GPU in place. It's not ideal, but as long as I don't move the system around too much, it should still be fine. Finally, we need a power supply. For this build, I can pretty much use any basic PSU, since the system doesn't consume much power at all. Of course, in a normal situation, you should still choose a power supply with enough wattage to safely handle your components, so you don't risk damaging the hardware or wasting money on something unnecessarily powerful. After the upgrades, things changed a lot. For the first time, Minecraft actually launched. At this point, it feels like the CPU's single-core performance is the main bottleneck keeping everything in check. At 8 chunks, the highest I recorded was around 251 frames per second. But in reality, it doesn't feel that good. The frames per second jumps all over the place with constant stutters and frame drops. And honestly, it's not just the CPU. The limited RAM is also making things worse. The world loads slowly and sometimes textures don't even render properly. But when I drop it down to 2 chunks, everything becomes much smoother. The FPS stays consistently above 200, and the stuttering is significantly reduced compared to 8 chunks. Now moving on to Tomb Raider 2013, the experience is completely different. At 1080p with low settings, the GPU is being used almost to its full potential. As a result, the FPS stays around 60, occasionally dipping to 50, but without any major frame drops. Overall, it's very playable and comfortable. That same stability carries over to Left 4 Dead 2. Even during intense fights with large groups of zombies, the system still maintains over 60 frames per second. Of course, this is an older title, so it's not too surprising that even an old system like this can handle it well. But what about something more modern? Let's take a look at Hollow Knight: Silksong, a newer action-adventure game. Here, the FPS stays around 100, and throughout my entire play session, I didn't run into any issues. The performance is smooth and consistent, which is honestly pretty impressive for a system like this. Overall, for a system that was basically on its way to being thrown away, I've managed to turn it into something surprisingly capable. Of course, there are still limitations. Because of the CPU, some games that rely heavily on processing power can feel stuttery and inconsistent. But interestingly, in more GPU-heavy titles, the CPU still has a bit of untapped potential. So, to make things a lot more interesting, I'm going to do something a little crazy. I'm pairing this $3 CPU with NVIDIA GeForce R TX 3060 with 12 GB of VRAM, a card that costs around $300. And honestly, I'm really curious to see how this tiny CPU is going to struggle to keep up with such a powerful GPU. You can clearly see the difference. In Minecraft, the FPS increases by around 100 frames compared to when I was using the GT 1030. Overall, it feels more stable, but I decided to push it even further by enabling shaders. And visually, it looks absolutely beautiful. But performance still isn't perfect. The FPS can be inconsistent, and whenever I run into more complex scenes, there are still noticeable drops. Moving on to Tomb Raider 2013, things behave a bit differently. Here, the CPU is constantly running at full load, and interestingly, that actually helps keep the FPS more stable. As you can see, the frame rate stays around 70 to 80 FPS, which is very playable. And with Hollow Knight: Silksong, the GPU upgrade really shows its impact. The system gains roughly another 100 frames per second, and during gameplay, I barely experienced any serious frame drops. Hitting around 200 frames per second, that's something a lot of people would dream of. Let's be honest, no one would seriously buy a GPU like this just to pair it with a system this weak, unless you've got money to burn. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.